Hello everyone, in today's video I'd like to show you about my building with suspension. Yes, I built suspension with a building on it, but the purpose was to build a simpler suspension than my previous one. To illustrate that completely, I need to show you what I started from. What was my reference point? This was sort of my reference point. This is the one I was comparing to and trying to build a simpler version of something that would perform as well as this one. I don't think I quite accomplished the mission, but this one has a drawback. It's complicated, and when I say that, I mean it's really just complex, but complicated because it's complex. It's crazy. Anyway, back to what I was doing, trying to make a simpler version. On my road to trying to develop this new suspension, which was supposed to be high performing and simple at the same time, I went down a lot of rabbit holes, and I mean a lot. There's a few here, and it got complicated at times. Again, I kind of went back to my old ways a little bit, but then went here to this build, and I modified some more. Every one of these is just a little bit different than the previous one. Some of them just get a little wider, some of them just changed a few of the weights on stuff. And let's see, I built this big thing here to try to test them, and of course this is kind of the standard that everybody gauges their suspension by, which is ridiculous by these standards most of the time. And this isn't all. Changing it up even more, I went with wider vehicles, longer vehicles. Here's some of them. Let's see. Next, I even tried different angles, like this one here where I tilted everything just a little bit. You can see that everything just has a slight angle to it. This was an attempt to counterbalance the counterweight. So when the counterweight pulls down on everything, it pulls all of these pieces into an angled position. And so I thought, well, what if I angled them in the opposite direction to begin with? Turns out, it was kind of stupid. It didn't work as well as I was hoping. Then I ended up at the next version. After what seemed like ages of testing and rebuilding and testing again, I ended up using a spring in the bottom here to keep, well, to make it do what I needed it to do. And that's really all I can say about that, because the path to get here was a bumpy road. This is the guts of the building. It's the same exact thing, just wanted to pull it out of there to show you what it looks like in action and what it looks like, you know, kind of naked without all of its covering. So let's see here, unanchor that, and in this way I can drive up there. I can show you that it has a little bit of a bounce to it. That bounce comes from the servos, and if you've used servos very much in this capacity, when you put some weight on them, they tend to have sort of a recourse where they want to bounce back into shape, and they're sort of pulling all the time. And if you combine that with wheels and weight and angles, then yeah, you get some funny little stuff going on. The springs might contribute a little bit to that, but I had bounce long before I added springs, so I'm not going to blame the springs for it. You can see what the springs are doing right there. They are limiting travel while maintaining orientation. That helps me a little bit to kind of balance things out. And let's see, I'd love to show you what this can do on a big hill or something. Let's just do that. So I've loaded up one of my previous builds that has these big stairs in it, and that was used as a reference to see if I was getting better and better as I was making all the little iterations. And they are not ideal for climbing, which is perfect for climbing, because if you want to learn how your suspension's doing, using something that's not ideal for the vehicle is pretty much a good way to watch them fail. You'll get more learning done that way than you will by making something that works well for the vehicle. Start out with something that doesn't work well for the vehicle and use that as a reference. Kind of like climbing up the sides of the build area here, or climbing over trees or something like that. So the important part about one of these builds is that they don't break. And even though this one does actually have some springs in it, it does pretty good. It holds together and tends not to get tangled up and not break. That was part of the reason for adding the springs. Springs are notorious for getting stuck, and at least in my builds they are. But this one seems to prevent that, which is kind of nice. And now I have a suspension that's okay, it's tolerable, it does something good, and doesn't have an enormous amount of pieces like some of my other stuff did. So I may start using some of these lessons that I learned here in future vehicles, and look forward to seeing those. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Chat with you later. Please like the video, subscribe to my channel so you can watch some more crazy stuff. Bye bye!